Hi, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. I'm Kelley Bollen, as she said, and in addition to all my shelter work, I just want to add in there that I've been consulting with pet owners for 20 years as well. And so I've worked with lots of people who have cats and dogs with various issues. And so enrichment is always a part of my program to address any behavior problems we see in cats and dogs. Also, prior to graduate school, I worked in the zoo field. And in the zoo field, I was the enrichment coordinator for the zoo. So I worked with all the different species and all the departments to try to provide enrichment for all of the animals in the zoo. So enrichment is near and dear to my heart. It's something that I've been passionate about for, a good 30, 35 years. And so I'm glad you joined me today to talk about enrichment for your cats and dogs. I want to start by thanking CABC Animal Health for asking me to give this webinar to you today. And as a behavior consultant, I can say that, this is a wonderful company. They really care about animals. And I'm particularly excited about the new product that they have on the market called the Calmer Canine, which helps dogs with anxiety issues. So I want to thank them again for having us and for providing these educational seminars for you guys to learn about your pets. So let's get started. Now, we know most pets are bored. I want you to look at your pet today after you get off this webinar and just see, is my pet bored? And what happens when they're bored? Well, they entertain themselves and they get into trouble. Okay, so when an animal's bored, they're going to find something to do. And so this is where enrichment can help. Okay, so I'm glad you tuned in today to find out how to entertain your cat and dog and to make sure that they don't live a boring life. So I'm going to start by giving you my definition of enrichment. So my definition is providing an interesting, challenging, stimulating environment that encourages the animals to think, learn, engage, and be well mentally and physically. And so we're always, we always care about the medical health of our animal, but sometimes we don't really think too much about their mental health and their physical health. And so that's where enrichment comes in, because if we want to give our dog and cats, a holistic, engaging life, we have to consider not just how they are medically, but how they are mentally and physically. And that's really what enrichment is all about. So I'm going to start this talk talking about enriching your cat or cats. Now I have 4 cats. So I'm going to talk about my cats as we go through this because they get enrichment on a regular basis. But I start with environmental enrichment. So what environmental enrichment is when you're actually modifying the environment to make it more interesting or more fun for your cat. Now, if you have a cat, you know that they think they're royalty. And so as royalty, they think they should live in a palace. And so how do we make our house into an enriched kitty palace? Well, we can start very simply by having some cat trees in the house. So the cat trees allow the cat to get up high where cats like to be. Cats like to survey their environment from up high. And so a nice cat tree allows that cat to get up high, survey their environment. Some of them have little hidey holes in them, as you can see on 2 of these. Cats love to squeeze themselves into a little hidey hole because it's just what cats do. They also, of course, like to scratch, which I'll talk about a little bit more in detail in a minute. But our cat trees can provide cats with lots of things, that high place to hang out, hiding places, and a really wonderful legal place to scratch. And so if you don't have a cat tree in your house, you should get one. So again, I have 4 cats. I probably have 6 cat trees in my house. A strategically placed cat tree can be a really great addition to your kitty palace, and it provides that environmental enrichment. Now, if you want to go all out, you can think about doing something like this. Cats like to climb and they like to traverse the upper part of their environment. And so the thing is that we don't utilize that upper part, of course, as humans, but cats can utilize it. And so if you really want to provide your cat with a really cool palace, you'll do something like this: put shelving and ramps and things like that along the wall. Maybe not in your living room or your dining room where you host guests, but just in general, and in a room that your kitty likes to spend time in, putting some kind of, little hidey hole up there or some kind of ramp really gives that cat a place to traverse. That is really what cats like to do. And of course, we know cats like to rest on comfortable spaces, and we also know that they love laying in the sun. So giving your kitty a window seat is a great addition to your kitty palace. Cats love to lay in the window. They get to watch outside. They get the sunshine. Sunshine is always good for all of us. We should all lay in the warmth of the sunshine in a window from time to time, but kitties definitely love them. And there's lots of different varieties of cat seats, window seats. You can even make your own, or put something in front of the window like your cat tree that gives your cat that ability to lay and relax in the sunshine. Now, another great thing to do is to put some bird feeders outside of those windows. Cats love to watch the birds. Now, a lot of times people say, well, isn't my cat going to be super frustrated if he sees the birds, but he can't get to them? Really, cats just find watching birds entertaining. Mine watch the birds outside, which I feed, for hours. And, they're not going crazy. You might occasionally hear that chattery noise your cat makes when it sees a bird. That's just that anticipatory chatter that cats make when they see some prey item. And so cats can really spend a long time watching birds. So if you want to give your cat a natural cat TV, feed some birds right outside the window. That can be really nice enrichment for your cats, and the birds, of course. And then, of course, the most enriching environment is the outdoor environment. But letting your kitty outside can be dangerous. They could get hit by a car, they could get lost, they could get attacked by a dog or a coyote. But there are safe ways to let your kitty outside. You can build yourself a catio. A catio is just what it sounds like. It's a patio for your cat. And you can easily, with just some, 2x4s and some meshing, build yourself a nice catio. And then you can have a little cat door or an open window to let your kitty go out there on nice days. When a cat's outside, they get fresh air, they get the sunshine, the vitamin D from the sunshine. They get to hear all the great sounds of the outdoor world. They get to smell all the great smells of the outdoor world. And so the catio is just such a nice idea to provide for your cat. Now, if you're not handy with that saw and the hammer, you might not want to build a catio like this attached to your house. But they also make freestanding catios. And so you could get one of these things and put it in your yard and allow your kitty to have some time outside. It really is the most enriching environment you can give for your kitty, is that time outside and all of the sights, sounds, and smells that they can get from being outside. Imagine your life if you spend it inside 24/7 for years. So, think about giving your kitty some outdoor time, safely, however. Now, this is actually how I give my kitties outdoor time. This company, The Perfect Fence, has these cat fencing, and it's specifically designed to keep the cats in and keep other critters out. And so it comes in different forms where you could, if you already have an existing fence, it has those hangovers like a prison, but the cat can't jump out and nothing can jump in. And then in the bottom right, we see a whole, just ground to high cat fencing. And the great thing about this cat fencing is that it really kind of disappears into the environment, except for the poles. It's almost hard to see. And so my cats have a kitty door and they go in and out into the yard. Of course, I bring them in at night because there's owls and things out there that can come in from the sky and get the kitties. but during the day they have access to their yard. So think about giving your kitty some outdoor access as a form of enrichment. Now, another form of enrichment is where we're actually stimulating species typical behaviors. So remember, a cat has got to do cat things. And so if we can provide enrichment that stimulates cat behavior, that's very helpful for the cat. So let's start with the behavior of scratching. Cats don't just like to scratch, they actually need to scratch. It's a biological need. Not only do they get rid of their dead nail sheets by scratching, but they also mark their territory by scratching. So making sure you have proper scratching posts in your house can stimulate that natural species typical behavior. And of course, if you don't give them a scratching post, they're going to do it on your furniture. And so if you do a vertical post, you want to make sure they're tall and stable, and you want to make sure the substrate is something the cat likes, the non-loop carpet, the sisal rope, or the natural wood. Now, some cats like horizontal scratching boards, and just those inexpensive cardboard can be really preferred by some cats. So again, this is environmental enrichment because we're giving the cat a place and a legal place to scratch, which is normal cat behavior. And cats like to drink from running water. So a cat out in the wild wouldn't drink out of a stagnant pool of water. But what do we give our cats in a home? A stagnant pool of water, a little bowl of water. And a lot of cats like to drink out of running water. You might have a cat that jumps up onto the counter for you to turn the water on. But you don't have to do that. You can buy them a kitty fountain. A kitty fountain gives the cat a nice way to drink out of running water. So this is a great enrichment device because it gives that cat that ability to do a cat thing. And cats love a salad from time to time. Yes, it's true that cats eat grass when their tummy is upset, but they also eat grass because they like to eat grass from time to time. And so providing your kitty with some cat grass can be a great enrichment for them, especially if they don't have time outside to eat like the grass that's already out there. You can provide them with some kitty grass in the house. And cats like to rub on stuff, right? And you can see in this picture, not only our domestic cat, but also wild cats like to rub on stuff. So they do rub on things to put their scent on articles, but they also just like the way it feels to rub on stuff, as you can imagine. And so there are these products that you can put in your house, either on the corner of a wall or on your furniture, or even these freestanding, I call them kitty self-petters, where the kitty can walk under and just get that nice scratch. Because rubbing on stuff is natural, it also feels good, and so it is a form of enrichment. And sometimes you just need to get stoned, right? Providing your kitty with some catnip from time to time is a great enrichment. Now, only about 60% of cats have the receptors for catnip. And so if you give your cat catnip and he doesn't do anything with it, he doesn't have the receptors. But for cats that do have the receptors, catnip is a great enrichment for them. Now, you can buy the dried up stuff or you can grow your own. Cats like the fresh catnip as much as they like the dry stuff. And so whether you pull off a couple sprigs and give it to your kitty or just let them have at it in a potted plant, fresh catnip is great for kitties too. Now, feeding enrichment is another form of enrichment that I highly recommend. When we feed a cat in a bowl, we are missing an opportunity to provide them with stimulation, right? And so rather than feeding them in a bowl, feed them in puzzle feeders, feeder balls, where they have to actually work for their food. So they have to move this item so the kibble falls out or manipulate it in some way to get the kibble. There's lots of different kinds of these feeder puzzles on the market. And like this one is really fun and cool. You can see the cats working to get their kibble. The thing is, they can cost some money. And so you can buy these things, but you can also make kitty enrichment. The kitty doesn't care how much you spend on them. You can get stuff out of your recycling bin and you can make your own kitty feeder enrichment devices out of soda bottles or any kind of little plastic container. You can even use yogurt cups and toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls. Just make some. The kitties don't care. Make it a challenge for them to get their food. It's a great form of enrichment. And then there's the food hunt. So food hunt is where you scatter their food around the house and let them hunt for it. Remember, cats are hunters. And so this stimulates that natural hunting ability. You might not want to put some food in the office drawer, but all around the house would be a great way to stimulate that hunting behavior. Now, play enrichment is really important for cats too. Cats love to play. And of course, their play simulates aspects of the hunt where they stalk, chase, pounce on things, just like they would if it was a prey item. So these feather dancers and the fishing pole type toys are great to entertain your cat. A 10 or 15-minute play session every day is great enrichment for your cat. Now, some cats like laser pointers. The thing about playing with your cat with the laser pointer is it's really important to make sure when you end the game, you point the laser beam onto a toy so your cat can actually catch and grab something. It's kind of stressful for a cat when the prey just disappears into the ground. And so just land that laser on a toy before you end the game. And balls are great. You know, it doesn't matter if you buy a ball or make a ball out of a wadded piece of aluminum foil. Cats love to bat balls around the house because, again, it simulates the hunt as they chase that ball as it rolls. You can throw the ball in the bathtub. That's a really fun game. A lot of cats really love doing that. Or you can float the balls in water. Now, although cats don't really like getting their paws wet, it's really fun to watch them try to play with these balls in a bowl full of water. Now, there's also lots of fun games that you can purchase where there's all the holes and the cat goes in there with his little paws and moves the balls around. Really fun stuff. But again, you can make these things. You don't have to buy them. You know, just get some cardboard boxes, cut some holes, and you have a kitty enrichment box. And so cats just love to play with things like this. And of course, what could be simpler than just a paper bag? You know, we know cats love to go inside of bags. And we also know they love a box. You put a box out, a kitty's going to be in it. And so giving your kitty a box or a bag is fun enrichment. And also, there's actually kitty TV. So this is my cat, Freddie. He loves his kitty TV. He loves to sit there and watch the little chipmunk and birds. And so kitty TV is really a great form of enrichment. And what about some training? So people say, oh, you can't train a cat. Well, you can train a cat. You can actually train a cat to do anything you can train a dog to do. They can sit pretty, they can high five, they can jump through a hoop. They can even do agility if you train them. And so really think about training your kitty. It's great mental exercise, great physical exercise, and it's just fun to train your kitty to do some tricks. Okay, enough about the cat. What do we got for the dog? Well, again, we want to think about our enrichment stimulating species typical dog behaviors because a dog's got to do what a dog's got to do. So chewing is an important behavior for dogs, especially when they're anxious or bored, but also just because it's fun. They like to chew. And so giving them chew items will help prevent them from chewing where they shouldn't chew, chewing up your furniture, chewing up your shoes. And so they're going to chew. So give them some safe chew items. Now you want to make sure they're safe, make sure that they can't choke on them. You know, when it starts getting too small, take it away from them. But there's a lot of really safe chew items out there that you can give your dog because it is just something they love to do. And dogs are dissectors. They like to pull things apart. And so allowing your dog to dissect his toys, there's no harm in it. I know it's a mess, but you know, you give him a $3 toy and he dissects it. You just pick up all the foam, shove it back in the toy, let him dissect it again the next day until pretty soon, all right, it's time to throw all this stuff away. But dogs just love to dissect. That's why they do it. It's not like they're trying to tell you they didn't like the toy or anything like that. They love pulling things apart. Let them do it. And dogs dig digging, right? A lot of dogs really like to dig. And so rather than letting them dig in your perennial garden or your vegetable garden, give them their own digging pit, right? The digging pit where that you bring in the play sand, you hide some milk bones, some toys in there, you encourage them to dig there. And now they have a place where they can legally dig and not get into trouble when it ends up being a garden you didn't want them to dig in. And so that's, again, it's that species typical behavior that we're stimulating and providing entertainment, which is enrichment for your dog. And we know that a dog's number one sense is their sense of smell. Dogs have more brain matter dedicated to olfaction than anything else. And so we want to stimulate that sense of smell when we're thinking about enrichment. And so really, I encourage you to let your dog smell. A lot of times people take their dog for a walk and they're yanking them away from everything that they want to smell. But smell is the most important thing. Imagine if every time you wanted to look at something, somebody slapped a blindfold over your face. And that's the way it is with dogs. Our number one sense is vision. Their number one sense is smell. Let them smell. So if you have 20 minutes to take your dog for a walk and he spends 15 minutes of it smelling the same blade of grass, let him do it, because that 15 minutes of smelling that blade of grass is really mentally stimulating because it's lighting on fire the biggest part of your dog's brain. So we have 5 million scent receptors. A dog has 300 million scent receptors. So when a dog is sniffing the same spot for 20 minutes, it's because it is super interesting for 20 minutes. Remember, they're not just smelling the surface. They could be smelling feet into the ground. Maybe there's some moles down there, some worms down there, a buried bone or something that they're interested in. Please let them sniff. And then there's the sport of nose work. And nose work is this really fun thing that you can look into if your local dog training school might have it, but you don't even need to go to a class. You can do nose work at home. It's just get a bunch of boxes and hide a treat in one of them and let your dog search all the boxes till he finds the treat. And then set it up again with the treat in a different box. Such a fun game that stimulates that species typical behavior, really gives them a lot of mental stimulation. And again, the bowl. All right. Again, I do not believe we should be feeding any of our animals with a bowl. It is just a wasted opportunity to stimulate their brain. Animals in the wild don't just get plopped a bowl of food. They search for their food. They work for their food. And people say, oh, that's not nice. Of course it is. They wolf down the food in 3 minutes and then they have nothing to do for the rest of the day. So feed them in interesting ways. You can stuff the food inside of a Kong toy if you feed a wet dry mix and let them work at trying to get that out. That simulates what, canines in the wild do, trying to get the bone marrow out of the bones. So Kongs can be great feeding enrichment. And there's also lots of different feeder puzzles and ways to challenge your dog to get his or her food. And again, you feed your dog twice a day. Why not take that opportunity to stimulate the brain? But once again, you don't have to buy anything. You can make enrichment feeding devices out of stuff in your recycling bin, a soda bottle, a juice bottle, the paper towel, the egg cartons, or you can go to the hardware store and buy some PVC pipe and some caps and just drill some holes and cap it up and put the food in there, and they got to roll it around to get the food out. It's a great way to stimulate your dog's brain and to have them work for their food. You can even be ingenious and make some puzzle feeders out of some wood and some dowels and some soda bottles, if you're handy like that. I mean, you can really go all out without spending very much money. Or you can just grab that cupcake tin out of the cupboard that you haven't made cupcakes in years. Get some old tennis balls from the garage, put the food underneath, cover it with the ball. Dog has to figure out how to take the ball out to get his food. There's lots of different ways we can stimulate feeding enrichment. You can even freeze the food on a nice hot day. This is nice, a popsicle where treats or food is frozen and the dog has to work at it. You can put a little chicken broth in the water so it's more enticing. Or you can even get some of these Snuffle Mats. So this is what they're called, Snuffle Mats, and you can get these online. You can make them yourself and you put treats in there and they snuffle around in them to get those treats. It's just a foraging activity and it's great mental stimulation. Or once again, we can do food hunt. So the way that I've always fed my dogs, either they get a puzzle feeder, a feeder ball, or I just take a handful of kibble and just wing it into the yard and let them search for it. And the dogs spend half an hour out there looking for every little bit of kibble. Remember, cats are hunters, dogs are scavengers, and both of them will search for food. And so it's a great way to entertain your dog and provide that mental stimulation. You're going to feed them anyway. And play. Play is important for dogs too. Just like I said with cats, dogs love to play. So give them opportunities to play. An old kiddie pool you might have in the shed, a bunch of tennis balls you have, laying around, put some treats in there, let them root around in it. This is such a fun enrichment for dogs. They also make all these kind of puzzle toys where the dogs have to get the little stuffies out of the big stuffy container. And, it's just fun. You put them in there and you watch your dog work at trying to get them all out. So there's lots of different ways you can stimulate your dog's brain through play. You can even do something simple like blow bubbles. Right? Dogs love to catch the bubbles. And, who doesn't love blowing bubbles, right? It's just fun, and it's fun for your dog, and it's super cheap, but great entertainment, great enrichment. And how about a sport, right? Sports are great for dogs. Agility, like I showed you the kitty doing agility. We all know what agility is, where the dog runs the course and has to go through the tunnels and through the hoops and over the jumps and do the weave poles. Well, agility is a great sport. But maybe you're not really into that kind of organized sport, and maybe you're not really wanting to run with your dog and do this and get up at 5 a.m. every Saturday morning to go to an agility trial. You don't have to. You can just do agility in your backyard. They sell these little kits where you have the tunnel and the weave poles and a couple of jumps. And, this is very inexpensive. And so you can just do agility in your backyard, watch a couple of YouTube videos. It's no big deal. It's a lot of fun. You don't even have to go that far. You can make agility equipment out of stuff you have laying around a house or stuff you can get really cheap at the store. Like if you see the upper right, you see the woman using plungers as weave poles. So really, agility is just about having your dog jump over things and go through things and cross over things. And it's just a great sport, and the dogs really have fun. It's both mental and physical stimulation. So I urge you to think about trying some of that stuff. And how about teaching some tricks? All right, tricks are great. You can teach your dog high five, bow, wave, balance a treat on their nose. There's so many different tricks you can teach your dog. There's lots of fun little videos on YouTube, and you can learn how to teach your dog a really fun trick. But tricks can be really great. And it's enrichment because it's mental stimulation as well as physical stimulation. Plus you have that bonding time with your dog as you're using positive reinforcement to train them to do a fun trick. So here's my dog learning spin, which is a really fun trick, and bang. And of course, when my dog dies, he wags his tail because he's so excited about getting a treat. But tricks can be really super fun. You can teach your dog to weave through your legs as you're walking. So that's a really fun little game. Just be careful you don't trip over your dog. You can even teach a useful trick.
Good boy. Thank you.
All right. So you want to have a refrigerator that closes on its own, because it's harder to teach them to go close the fridge. But useful tricks can be fun too. And again, teaching your dog a trick is mental stimulation. So enrichment is fun. It's fun not just for your furry friends. It is fun for you, because you will know that you're giving your pet the mental and physical stimulation they need to be healthy and happy. And that's what we all want for our pets. And so providing them with daily enrichment is really super important. So I hope that you've learned some things today on how to provide your cat or your dog with enrichment. And I hope you get started today to enrich the lives of your pets. So again, I want to thank Assisi Animal Health for having me. Here's my email address if you want to contact me or ask me any questions about this talk or anything about your pet. I'm available for questions anytime. And I want to thank you for your attention and your desire to entertain your pets, to provide them with that enrichment.